All right, can you guys hear me? Great. All right, we're going to change the format of today's meeting because of the changes that have gone on. So normally you guys would get like our quote and everything, and then we'd have a learning portion. Today we're going to focus on the learning portion. And that's because of the NAR information that was released on Friday. The first thing that I would like to remind you all is that since I started, I have recommended getting a buyer brokerage signed. So I had already taught you guys how to do this. Whether or not you did what I asked is a whole nother story, and that's up to each of you. However, things are changing, okay? Real estate is a very dynamic industry. It is consumer-led. And whether I like it or not, the consumer, through a class action lawsuit, has spoken that they would like things to be different. However, things are not that much different, and I'd like a chance to break it down for you guys. So starting in January, we did have new laws based on what happened last year. We already got new listing agreements. We already got new buyer brokerages where the amount that the buyer is paying is, like, when they sign something, they're saying, yes, they're willing to pay that if it's not covered by the seller. The seller has been able to, since January, say, I want to pay my listing agent this much and a buyer's agent this much. That did not change. What changed is all of a sudden, because of NAR's involvement and the settlement, which, by the way, is not ratified yet. It's not law yet. It's not done yet. It's not permanent yet. Now there's a little bit of a media frenzy. The media is getting it wrong, and they are very much getting it wrong in their titles of their articles. Why do you think that is? So that people will click on it, guys. The news is a source of revenue for that news station. It is not about news. If you've ever sat and watched the news, you will watch your emotions go up and down and side by side, because they know if they can capture your emotions and your attention, they can get clicks, views, time on their website, time on their show, to make sure that you, the viewer, are watching, so they can sell you what? Advertisements, more shit, right? Okay, so stop clicking. And 80% of the posts that I am seeing inside of local real estate groups, national real estate groups, et cetera, are absolutely incorrect. And they are from agents who are insecure about the change. The other thing that we need to be prepared for is, well, before I go beyond that, it was very hard for me to stay out of those groups this weekend and not hand a few people their butts.
Yeah, I mean, people were like crossing lines and putting their own licenses on the line.
Yeah, so be careful what you're saying, be careful what you're posting, be careful what you're believing, because you may be taking advice from somebody who also just got their real estate license, or they don't freaking know. And honestly, guys, I don't know everything yet. I reached out to our broker, I reached out to our leadership, and I said, here's some of the scripts that I would like to teach on Monday. And they said, honestly, Brittany, nothing takes place until July. So chill. It's essentially what they said. So I said, okay, I'm going to focus on scripts that already were in effect in January. And we're going to work on that, because then whatever changes they hit us with, we'll be ready for them. And we've already started working on them. If you were with us towards the end of last year, we started working on these. If you're in launch, you are being trained for this. Don't worry. We're all in this together, and we've got your back. So I spent a significant amount of time putting together my thoughts. If I was sitting across the table from a buyer or seller, I had AJ review, I had other top agents review. AJ has to, because he lives with me, so he has to like look at crap that I'm like, I worked for hours on this. Will you do this? He's like, I'm so tired. I don't care. Look at it. And so he looked at it with me. He added a few things. I took it to the place partners. I took it to Ben. A lot of upper leadership is saying, we don't know, but most of what you've talked about here, it was already in place. So go ahead. Okay, so that's where we are. Pop quiz, turn your sheets over. pop quiz. If somebody asked you right now why they should hire a buyer's agent, what would be your answer? Raise your hand and get called on, please. Okay, give me one reason.
This is one of the biggest assets that you're purchasing in your entire life. Don't you feel that you would need a professional to help represent you and guide you through the process?
Cool. What's your reason?
To protect yourself.
Your stuff.
Yeah.
Your money, your interest. Yeah. What else?
I mean,
Go for it.
I mean, I would say you need somebody that's working exclusively for you to help you find a property and to watch your back, you know, that's as simple as it is. Like, you need somebody representing you, because the listing agent contractually hired by the seller to sell the house for the seller and protect the seller's best interest. So if you don't have somebody representing you on your side, it's like you're dealing directly with a lawyer hired by the seller, and you can bet your butt they're gonna protect them at every corner, and nobody's gonna be there fighting for your best interest.
How many of you, this has shook you a little bit and you're wondering what the value of a buyer's agent is? Okay. AJ is the only one that's being honest, I think.
I'm worried, but I know that being your hands are good.
Okay, I like that answer, and we're gonna make sure we take it to the next level.
I could even really look at it or worry about it or think about it right now.
Man, you followed instructions better than I did, man. I was like, I am holding up the mirror and telling myself this, and I was like, motherfucker, will you please stop being a little bitch in this group? You know, I was like,
Before I pretended I was yours, so. Oh, like she said that, but I already
You
did.
said, don't worry about it right now. I'm like, okay.
okay, some of y'all are just so compliant. I love it. I wish I was that way.
Follow the directions.
Love it. I love it. All right, so
I didn't even have to say anything that time. My nose is actually.
is your nose
It
itching?
was itchy. I love you, Chris.
Tamisha, you're a brand new. What do you think the value, have you bought a house before? Not yet. Okay, so what do you think? You're a realtor now, but you also know you haven't bought a house yet. What do you think the value of a buyer's agent is?
What I've learned so far. Like we may have access to networks that, the average person does not.
Nice.
That was an excellent one. Access to networks that the average person does not. It's huge.
Yeah, and information.
And
Yeah.
information. Mhm. What kind of information, AJ?
I mean, we can look at comps for them and tell what other properties sold for, like, did other sellers give closing costs, like they sold for a certain price, but they gave this much in closing costs, like, you know, what
Quality properties.
trends, stuff like that, like,
Trends.
you know, yeah, I mean, we can tell you if, you know, this neighborhood's not selling for as much as it used to before, and maybe you should, you know, that listing agent cannot give you any advice on where to start an offer or anything, so what's the chance?
So let's put ourselves in that buyer's shoes right there. Say I'm a buyer and I go straight to the listing agent. And I say, Claire, you're the listing agent. I really like this house. Will the seller take less?
No,
Darn.
but if you write me an offer right now, she'll take it for full price.
Oh, okay. I've read online that I could get some closing costs paid. How much should I put in the contract?
I can't help you.
What do you mean you can't help me with that?
I'm not.
Okay, so how would I know how much to put in?
Did she get a buyer's agent?
Okay, all right, I need to hire like a property inspector. Do you have one?
Yeah, absolutely. My guy is my best friend. He's actually my husband, but he does great and he'll watch out for you.
Sweet, yeah, right?
He also does pest control and he checks roofs. Like he'll stand on the ground and look at it for you and tell you if it's bad or not. But he looked at this one yesterday. He said it's good.
It's
So,
gooder than hell, you know?
but you know, if
Real
you want
good.
this house, you should just write me an offer right now for full price and you can just move forward.
And because you probably have some other offers on the table and you want to make sure that I get it, right?
Fine.
Right, okay. So, guys, it's time. If you are new-ish, if you're here, you're probably not new anymore because you're getting so much information all the time that you're not that new anymore because you're just sponging in information. It's time we start understanding what can go wrong for a buyer if they don't have representation. My dad is a know-it-all. If you ever get the pleasure of meeting him, he is me on steroids. I actually like people. And he, of course, knows everything. And when he went to buy his house in Shiloh, North Carolina, I hope this recording never makes it public, but he went straight to the listing agent because he knows what he's doing. He's bought and sold homes before. And he negotiated what he felt was the best deal. He is a great negotiator. I'll give him that. Like, he's done negotiating his whole life. So I'm not worried about him as far as negotiating goes. But then he took the listing agent's recommendation for a local inspector, a local pest control person so that he could get a termite letter, and then he closed. About 6 months later, my dad walked in his front door and the floor sank. And he went, well, that's not supposed to happen. I don't even think it was 6 months, by the way. I think it was like shortly after they moved up there. He was like, why is this squeaking? And then it like started sinking. Like, I think it progressed, right? That entire house, that whole front side of the house, all of the subfloor, not the subflooring, what are the beams going across that are supporting? The joists were all rotted, wet, and there was an active and really bad termite infestation. He had a clean inspection report and a clear termite letter.
Somebody take soon.
Oh, they did.
That's something, and that's gonna come back on.
They did. But it still cost him a shitload of money. He had to pay out attorney fees. He won, but if you win in a settlement, I don't know if you guys know this, but that doesn't mean the person that lost has to pay up. Do you guys know that? Just because a judge says, yeah, you were wrong, you lied, and it cost them $120,000. If you don't have it, what are they gonna do?
Nothing, they just gonna close up.
Nothing.
You know what they do? They file bankruptcy.
They file
right after-
bankruptcy.
And then 2 weeks later, they're opened up again up in
In their brother's name, yes.
Mhm. And oftentimes they'll come to you and say, listen, I don't have 120, but I have 10.
And if anybody doesn't believe that, Brittany's dad is a case of, well, not that case, but like Debbie won $22 million. Everyone's like, oh my God, she's rich. I'm like, she'll never see it. Like,
No. So guys, just because you win the case doesn't mean you're automatically reimbursed. So let's make sure that we're educating our clients on the fact that this is a big deal. You're buying a very, very expensive investment, and it should be taken seriously. It's not stopping by Walmart and picking something off the shelf, and then if it doesn't work when you get it home, you get to return it and get a full credit. That's not how this works. My job is to protect you, both get you the best price, the best terms, protect you during the process, protect your earnest money, protect your investment, and make sure that you don't follow through with buying a piece of shit, somebody else's problem. I want you to buy a great home. My job is to protect you. And if you don't have that mindset, you're missing out. That's where we need to be. Like, we're not just sharing the journey with them and sharing all of the positives. We're also there to look out for them. That doesn't mean that you're an inspector. That doesn't mean that you're a roofing expert. That doesn't mean any of that. It means that you know when to ask for help. You know when to bring in contractors, and you know how to ask me or our brokers if it goes above my head on how to navigate when something's going wrong. Okay, so you can turn your sheet back over, and I'm gonna pull it up. Can you maybe manage this and share the screen and get the Google Drive opened up so they can see it?
Rick's trying to get back in. He lost service. He said he can't reconnect.
That's it.
That's the service, yeah, there's no password.
It should be still open, like once you do the desktop.
No, I see.
And then once it's off the screen, it might be the same itself. Yeah, okay. All right. I swear, if you guys share this outside of our team, I'll beat you with it, okay? Because I was told to chill out, and I'm not chilling out because I am worried that you guys are gonna get objections today, and I want you to be armed with them. Okay, I don't want you to get an objection from somebody and be stumped and be standing there with your mouth wide open and not know what to say. I'm arming you. I have the right to change this at any time if I get other instructions from our broker, but they did put eyes on it. We're not like in violation of anything, but we also don't know exactly how Friday's announcement is going to play out. It is not completely settled. And it's not in law yet, so let's hold on, but you may get questions because of the publicity. Let's talk through it. All right, the first page here is value to buyers and value to sellers. If you think your job is opening doors for buyers, you are wrong. And you either need to change your game or you need to get out of the business. Because anybody can open a door. We're looking at ways to create coded locks on our property management business so that we don't have to fucking show anymore. Because we would like to not waste that gas. Showing the property has nothing to do with it. Now, it is time consuming. But it is not your job. It's just a piece of it. Your job is negotiations of representation, getting them the best price, getting them the right terms, because we all know terms sometimes trump price, right? I might be willing to pay 10 or 15 grand more if I get what I want on this other stuff, right? Contractor connections and coordination. You guys, we are launching our maintenance group, and the reason we're doing it is because we could not find consistent pricing for things across the board for our property management. Now you guys have an inside scoop to pricing on your jobs at the lowest price possible. We always had it, now it's actually in-house and we own it. Okay. Contractor connections and coordination, off-market homes. Every single one of our agents here prospects for more homes that are on the MLS. I don't think I see a face yet. You haven't joined yet, so maybe not here. Every single one of you looks for off-marketing homes. I'm sorry, but if you're a lone buyer out in the world, where are you gonna find out what gets on the market?
And nobody's got time to sit and prospect and do 1,000 dial day, right, Zillow, but everybody else, buyers have jobs, like.
Yeah, they've got jobs, unless they do this full time, and if they really think they can do it, go for it. Like, then maybe that's not your client. But the ones that have a job and this is a purchase and they don't want to have to go send out handwritten letters and all the shit that we do and make 1,000 dials and say the right thing and blah, 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 blah. And connect with 22 other agents in the markets with the top performing team to say, hey, what do you have coming on the market so I can get my buyer the deal before it ever hits the MLS? They don't get that, right? So you need to make sure that you are talking about that in your buyer consults. I could never have a buyer consult without saying that. It's one of the biggest values to there being a lack of inventory is I know what homes are coming on the market before they come on the market because my team represents over 10% of the transactions in this area. And they tell me everything.
And just think, if you're sitting down with somebody that's talking about a $300,000 house, you're trying to get $9,000 of commission. So when you leave that meeting, they have to have in their head that you're going to provide $9,000 worth of value, because ultimately, if they find something they fall in love with and they're not offering anything, they're going to have to pay you. I mean, you can talk about all the other scenarios, but you need to be, showing them $9,000 worth of value if they're looking at $300,000 house at that meeting to leave with that sign.
Absolutely. Guidance to make sure your investments are wise ones. Contract guidance to protect your money, your investment, and your future. You're welcome at any point when you're sharing this with people to tell them about horror stories and say, listen, one of our clients' dads bought in another area and he chose not to hire an agent, and this is what happened. You tell my horror stories. If you want more horror stories, you just let me know. I've been selling real estate a long fucking time. I got horror stories that you could use, okay? Social media presence and exposure for finding the deals that other agents don't. This is the most resourceful real estate team I have ever met in all of my history of doing this. You guys have so much social media reach, so many friends in the real estate industry, and so many people in our local communities. You're finding more off-market properties than ever before.
And then the amount of agents on the other side that come to us to ask us what we've got coming.
Agents
Yeah.
come to me all the time to say, what do you have coming? And they also say, hey, I've got this coming,
Mhm.
will you please tell your team, because
Yep.
I know your team's a bunch of hustlers. Relationships with multiple lenders to get you a yes when you may have heard no. How many of you raised your hand if you've saved a deal by switching lenders, because we have a reason, okay, back row, front row up here, right? That's an added value. You fell in love with that house. And then the one lender you're talking to has one piece of underwriting that kicks you out. Come on. Let's hunker down, let's find somebody who can solve the problem with us, and we do. We've seen multiple deals just in the past 6 months. Now, sellers, staging and guidance, currently we offer staging now. High quality professional photography, drone images, videography, 3D tours, house plans, professional copy, marketing materials. I mean, we have a graphic design team that makes your stuff look so professional. It looks like you paid hundreds of $1,000s for it to be designed. Why? Because we did. We as place do pay our graphic designers that much, but we share in the cost of it, right? So you look amazing. And they can look at somebody else's stuff and go, man, theirs looks really good and theirs looks really great. Good, great, right? Which is why I'm also like super picky about what goes on our social media and how it looks. Or Georgia Legacy Management got to hear about that the other day. Like, sorry, this is the one place I will not let go. You gotta fix how it looks before you go that. You gotta fix it. Connections for lower costs and higher quality repairs. We've always had that. I shop vendors, I vet vendors. You can trust that if me, AJ, Melody, or Claire gives you a name, they mean business. And they're gonna do a good job and they're gonna give you a great reputation. Versus if I just hire anybody, I'm taking a risk, right?
Mhm.
Strategy. I'd say that's what I bring to the table most. You guys get to pick which part you bring, but strategy to maximize your chances of getting what you want. We have an over 20,000 buyer database, and we have highly trained agents converting those leads. We have the legwork available for additional marketing and open houses and more. You can't beat hiring 22 agents for the price of one. Can't beat it. We have a track record for going far above in negotiations, netting our clients more than the average agent, negotiations advice on when to play your cards and when to hold. That right there can save people thousands of dollars. Relationships with local realtors to help find additional feedback, exposure, and results. A large black book of contractors and vendors, looks like I said that twice, like lenders who help us keep deals together once they go under contract. People think just once it goes under contract, it's all smooth sailing. No, that's when the fun begins. When you start working. That's when my job actually starts. Hope you know it, right? So much more value for sellers like horse farms, land, builders, commercial, etc. Know who you're in front of and know what value you're bringing to the table. Be ready when you go to the listing appointment. If you're taking a horse farm property, what's your value?
We have people that sell horse farms.
That specialize in that area.
We got them horsey people.
We've got connections across the board. We pay extra to spotlight your home on horseproperties.com. How many of y'all know that before you're going out on a listing appointment, right? I mean, AJ, we've done a whole dang website on our advantage to builders. Give me 2 advantages to builders that we offer.
Oh. Are you asking me?
Yeah.
We find off-market land and then we create the marketing for them. Find the land and take the marketing off of their plate and then just build houses.
Guys, we built an entire website for a whole subdivision. We did all of their architectural renderings, their whole like site map plan, everything, took it off of them so that they can focus on what? Building. That's value. So if you end up wanting to set an appointment with a builder, you take me or AJ with you. We will help you close that damn deal. Okay. All right, let's go to the next page, but on the back. If you have anybody who asks you, could I just pay you to write the contract? I want to remind you that we do already have one option. We have always offered a 1% no representation transaction fee. What that looks like is, we've always offered this, like, I've offered it as soon as I knew it was a thing, it's called a transaction fee, right? Say your friend comes to you and says, we're doing for sale by owner, I'm sorry, we're just trying to save money. I say, awesome, by the way, I don't know if you noted this, but if you find a buyer, you guys come to an agreeable price, if you want me to handle the paperwork and help you with the disclosures and get you to a closing table, I'm happy to do that for a reduced rate. Cool thing is, guys, you fill out the paperwork and then you literally hand it over to your ops team. They take it from there, and then you just sit back and collect your money at the end. You are offering no advice, you're just moving them through the process. I have done this on deals where people were buying from their family, but they had no freaking clue what they were doing. You know, I've done this for sale by owners, because they're like, well, if I didn't know you did that, yeah, let's do that, because then I won't have to worry about that part. And we can do this. It's a way for us to keep our clients in-house no matter what. I want to offer solutions. I don't want there to be reason not to work with us. Oh, you want to find your own buyer? You want to pay for all your marketing? You want to show it and pre-qualify everybody? Great. Take all the work off and I'll do this. This is a customer agreement. It is not a brokerage. It is not a listing agreement. It's a customer agreement.
Is there a form for that?
Customer agreement. Isn't that what it's called?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's a customer agreement. Sorry for being sassy. It's not a long weekend.
I'm used to it.
So let's talk about what it would be like if they're actually asking for guidance. If it comes up, they're asking for guidance, it's a buyer. They want to go look at homes themselves. They don't want to come out of pocket this 2.5%, 3%, whatever percentage that you're talking about. Okay, we can talk about this. So you want to go find the house and look at it and everything, but then you want me to guide you on writing the offer. And you would like for me to guide you on repairs, anything like that that comes from the inspection. Okay. Me personally, guys, that is way less time. I would be willing to do it for half. You get to make that decision. I would. I didn't have to drive anywhere. It's almost like a listing appointment with no photos and no cost up front, no nothing. I might be willing to say I normally do, and these are not numbers we screenshot, these are not numbers we post on Facebook, guys. You keep these internal and in your negotiations behind closed doors. I'd be willing to do 1.25 or 1.5 for buyer rep with little to no work. And I'm just helping on negotiate. That's me. You get to make a decision if that's even a service that you want to offer. I'm not saying you have to. The thing that I would talk to my buyer about, if they said that that's what they want to do, I'd say, okay, so just curious. We sign this, I say I'm willing to do this for you, and you go out and start looking at properties. If a listing agent then charges you another rate, either hourly or a percentage of the sales price for the act of showing you those homes, are you prepared to pay that out of pocket? Because the listing agent charges their portion for the listing side. I want to make sure that they know just because I agreed to this doesn't mean it necessarily reduces their cost. It could, but it may not. You might get some listing agents out there that are willing to go out and show, but they're also, what is probably going to happen is they're going to say, you know, are you represented? They're hopefully following some sort of LP mama, and they say, yeah, I have an agent who's going to write my offer, and they're going to say, great, have them show you the property. And the buyer's gonna go, well, I negotiated to only do this. Okay, well, then you can pay me for showing you the property if you'd like. Hopefully, if we all train ourselves, and I plan on training this out to agents as well, when I get the blessing to, hopefully as a community, we'll be so trained on this that we're not just doing work for free. Now, there will be the occasional person who will cut the commission. You guys have already been faced with that
Happens anyway,
for
right?
years. You've been faced with it for years. That is not new, that somebody will list it for 1,000 or 1,500 or whatever BS, like they're desperate to get the job done. Lowest cost does not mean highest value. Got that? All right, there was an objection that a friend of mine got, that the seller reached out to them over the weekend and said, I would like to just go ahead and take the shared commission off of the MLS, because everything's changed. And I wrote a script there for that. I'll let you read over that later, we'll go to the next one. All right,
Just so we know, nothing has officially changed, is what you told us.
yes.
They're getting
And-
friends with each other, right? Yeah.
And until July, as far as meeting buyers, co-op is advertised, we would know what we're getting into
Yep.
before I show you a house, so
Yeah,
don't.
we're gonna go over that.
Hey, don't get too far into this stuff to like shoot your foot on a buyer these days, cause
Yes.
everything's gonna be the same right now.
And we're gonna, and it is the same, and I'm gonna make sure that we go with buyers are last on the thing, so we're gonna go over it, but let's talk about if you're sitting across the table from the seller. And it's time to fill in the listing agreement. And there's a spot that says, my fee is blank, and I say, you know, Claire, based on everything that we've talked about and the ease at which I believe it's gonna take to get your home sold. And everything that we do that I offer that we've already gone over, because you should have gone over the listing presentation and what we do to get home sold. My fee is 3% or whatever your number is. I actually prefer if you'll go a little bit higher than that, 3.5 if you can. But I'm not gonna let you lose a listing over it. And then if you're commercial or land, it's higher. And you like keep reminding people this. So don't just sign commercial and land agreements at regular percentages, they are higher. But we're sitting there, we're going over it, and I say, great, so. Ultimately, now what we need to decide is how much you'd like to offer to a buyer specialist. Okay, so I'm gonna use Claire as my person here. Claire, would you agree that our goal here is to net the most amount of money in the best timeline possible?
Yes, of course.
Awesome, so let's talk about how we accomplish this. In basic economics, price is driven by supply and demand. We can't control supply, but we can control demand for your house. Here's how we do that. Let's back up for a second, and I'll explain how buyers shop for homes. They look for the best value when deciding on a home, the most features and benefits for the price. When buyers perceive your home as being a great value, that's when we drive a lot of attention to your listing, and it can create a bidding war, ideally. The more offers we receive, the greater the ability to dictate the terms of the sale along with the highest net price. Since we know that more than 90% of buyers are working with an agent to help them, which means they have a contract with an offer of compensation for their agent. If buyers are deciding between two similar homes, and one of them offers compensation for their agent covered, and the other one does not, which one do you think they'll choose?
The one where their agent gets paid.
Absolutely. And it's always gonna be the one that offers the compensation, especially since they're already coming out of pocket tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars for their down payment and closing costs. While not offering compensation doesn't mean that we won't get an offer from the buyers in the 10% pool. It just means that we'll have much less demand because of the significantly reduced buyer pool, which equates to less or no bidding war, and we may not be able to dictate the terms entirely. With all that being said, it's your choice how much we offer and how much we offer for compensation to the agent that brings the buyer. Typically, we will see an offering between 2.5% to 3.5%. How much would you like to offer?
Whatever has, 3% sounds good. That's what I've seen in the past. I don't want buyers trying to act like agents themselves.
Try saying, if you bring the buyer, are you willing to do it for less?
Yeah, why can't you just bring me a buyer and I'll pay you a little bit more, but then I won't have to pay a whole 6%? Can we do that?
Yes and no. Yes, I can bring you the buyers, absolutely. And like I said, over 90% of them are working with agents. My team works with approximately 10% and of the market share. And out of that 10% market share, our agents are still gonna be looking to get compensated the same exact way. So it's the same story over and over again. But if you wanna go that route where you only allow me to market it and me to show it, I'm perfectly happy to do that. My rate, instead of my 3.5%, would be 5.5%. Because it's gonna add workload, time, hours spent, gas, driving, pre-qualifying those buyers, answering more of their questions, et cetera. So we just gotta have to compensate for the workload shift.
But can we still probably get it sold in 30 days?
No, probably not. That wouldn't be very realistic.
Fine, I'll just do 3%. And if you bring the buyer, then you can have the 3% too.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And if it comes down to it and I bring the buyer and to sweeten the deal, maybe I need to offer a little bit of that commission up, we'll have a conversation then. Is that fair?
Sounds good.
All right, sounds like a plan. How many of you would be confident enough to say that right now? One person. My question is, what do each of you need to do to get that confident? Practice. Somebody's willing to answer the questions. Oh, yeah. So who do you practice with?
You. Teammates.
Teammates. I'd start with teammates, because y'all all freeze up with me. It's very silly to me, but you do. So practice with your teammates first, and then practice with AJ, because he's even more of a pain in the ass than I am. And then by the time you get to me, well, it's like loosening the jar of a lid. You'll be ready, and you'll be like, look how great I am. I practice with AJ. Because yeah, he even stumps me sometimes. Oh, all right, go to the next page. You've got a couple of different ways to break this down. Now, many of you will prefer the script I just went over, so I would work on it. If your brain or your client is very analytical, I plan on creating this in a format that you can take with you to listing appointments. Once I've confirmed we're all good here, but this is the way my brain works. This analytical bullet pointed option 1, option 2, pros and cons, let's weigh it all out. Break every detail down for me so that you erase all of my objections because of that high C. Not everybody needs that, but high Cs do. So you might want to be ready to present something like this as well. So, you know, I can imagine that you're asking because you're hoping it's going to save you some money. Is that correct? All right, there's a few advantages and disadvantages to paying and not paying a buyer's agent commission. Is it okay if I cover them with you so you can make an educated decision? High C's love to hear that. Because yeah, I want to make my own decisions, but I want all the details first so that I can make that decision, and then I will let you know but that's the path I want to take, right? So I've given you guys some parameters there. Read through them, familiarize yourself with them. All right, you can flip again and let's move to buyers, because that's where a lot of you are spending your time. It just says buyer appointments at the very top. All right. Here's receive a phone call, Melanie. They call because they think you're the listing agent, because we put our team number out everywhere. You've earned your spot on leads, like everybody has the ability to here, and you get a phone call and it's AJ, what's one of your listings? College Avenue.
Sure, yeah.
I don't remember the address. Hey, I'm calling out this house on College Avenue that has like the blue porch. Could I come and see that?
Are you an agent or a prospective buyer?
I am a prospective buyer, I guess. I'm definitely not an agent. We're thinking about buying in the area.
Okay, so you think about coming to Commerce. Are you working with an agent at this moment?
No. That's why I called you.
Sure. You planning on paying cash or have you put out a mortgage application?
I'm definitely gonna need a mortgage, but it's been a while since I've gotten pre-approved. Like the last time I got pre-approved was a couple of years ago. Everything should be good though.
Okay, great. Typically, I don't show homes to buyers unless they filled out a mortgage application, because depending on what type of loan or the house itself, you may not qualify, or the home may not qualify for your loan. So I always encourage buyers to have an approval from the bank before looking at the house.
Okay. How quickly can I get that done? That shouldn't take very long, right?
No, I can send you a link to 3 different lenders now. You can fill that out in the next 15 minutes.
Okay, and could I see it this afternoon then?
Sure. Do you mind meeting me in my office prior to showing the house? We're a quarter of a mile from there. We can sit down and talk about what your goals are, and then I can take you over there and look at the house.
Sure, I just wanna make sure, you're the listing agent, right?
I work with the team of the agents that has this property listed, so.
Okay, I'm trying to get in touch with just the listing agent, because I'm trying to avoid the whole buyer commission thing. I just wanna make sure that I was clear on that, because I am trying to save some money there.
I completely understand. So when you speak to the listing agent, you know that you're speaking directly with the person that represents the seller. And even though you're going directly to the listing agent, you may still be required to pay some sort of compensation.
No, I didn't realize that. What do you mean? I thought like the whole news thing said that that commissions are not guaranteed ever now, and it's not 6, it's 3, and it's all this stuff, so I'm just trying to make sure that I go straight to listing agents.
Definitely can't always believe what you read online. Sounds like we really do need to sit down and talk so you can have some clarity over this before you step into something that could potentially put you into a liability for a lot of money.
Nice
Nice job,
job.
Melody.
Nice job. My only, like, that was amazing, and I did not warn her that that was happening. My only constructive feedback would be to slow me down a little bit and just say, curious, are you reaching out to the listing agent because you perceive it is going to save you money out of pocket? Like, are you making the assumption that you're not gonna have to? I know, but you know, I had to like feed it to you a little bit, but yes, that was beautiful and that was lovely. And it was as perfect as you can get, right? So we've got that recorded. Hopefully that came through on the recording here. Question for you guys is, where do you rate your confidence right now on the scale from 0 to 10 on why they should stop calling those listing agents and talk to you? Where do you rate yourself? I would put Melody at a 10. And a 0 is, I don't have any clue.
Shannon said 7.
Who's at 1? Who's at 2? Who's at 3?
I'm probably like a 8 or 9.
Okay, who's at 4? All right, either y'all are lying. 5,
Or you're just scared? Are y'all
Six.
scared?
Might be, 5 or 6.
7, 8, 9, 10. Some people didn't vote. All right.
I'm on, 5, between 5 and 6.
I think I just couldn't articulate to a customer on the spot how I just.
Yeah.
And that's.
A lot of it's experience, you know, comes from having deals and, you know, having horror stories happen and stuff, you know, like. That's why I feel really confident with it. I've seen a lot of shit happen to people that didn't have representation. I found people deals that weren't on the market that I feel like they made hundreds of thousands on. So my 3% to me is jack shit if I'm gonna go out and find you something and nobody else could, like.
You know,
And it's ultimately money at the end of the day, no matter what, no matter what we're talking about. You got a buyer that's gonna pay a seller an amount to net them a certain amount, they're fine to give you 3%, like it's all money at the end of the day. It's just how you package it and how you know.
So when surgeons are training to become a surgeon, what do they practice on?
Real people.
Hmm,
They actually, they practice on cadavers first.
Dead people.
Well, that's still a real person. It's like, I feel like I'm dead inside.
All right.
Well, dear, doesn't seem they practice on.
Yes.
All right, why do they practice on dead people?
You
Okay.
can't fuck that up.
Screw up, they liability. Kill somebody. Cause they already.
Stakes are lower, right? What's your version of a cadaver? You've got to practice this.
Each other.
Yeah.
Teammate.
Why? Because there's nothing at
Right,
stake.
yeah.
Y'all get, you get intimidated by role playing with me. I get it, and I'm busy, so I can't always fit your schedule, and I understand, and I'm not busy, I'm purposeful. I'm gonna reframe that so that my words are
Yes, ma'am.
impeccable. But guess what? I'm usually the path to you getting better. Because I'm the only one that'll tell you, you use an upswing when you could use a downswing, and to say it differently, and I'll sit with you while you do it and figure it out, and I will let it be uncomfortable.
I think this one's really good for like family, friends, people that don't know the industry. I think I would want to role play with people like that even
Practice
more.
on 'em.
They're gonna spit out the stuff that people are thinking, you know, where.
And you could, like, if you got somebody at home, like I could go home and ask Trey, I would probably end up in a fucking argument, but if he's wrong. But I'd ask him, like, so what did you hear on the radio about real estate today? Like, throw it at me so that I can educate you on
Have
it.
y'all thought about that? Have you thought about going onto your social media and saying, hey, guys, I need a few friends that are true friends to volunteer to help me with something at work. If you're willing, will you send me a private message?
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna just chime in that I had a buyer presentation like 3 weeks ago, and I mentioned, hey, it's typically free to have representation. The seller, but I mean, not that I'm good with them, I can explain any kind of scenario, but I'm just saying that's been sort of the thing. For
You're the
buyers
reason that
is,
we were
you
doing
know,
this.
people, yeah, basically all listings offer something, you know what you're walking into, you can get paid through the seller, so all that, we're just gonna have to shift to have that
Everybody
not be
pays.
in the way we think about it.
Here's the other thing, guys, is I differ than the class action lawsuit, and I think the buyers were always paying it.
That's what I've always said, like, everybody pays it. The buyer pays the seller and then the seller pays you, like, the money is all going in the same
Guess who's
circle.
paying it for the next 30 years if they stay in that house? The buyer, right? They're the ones that finance that in. In my opinion, it was always the buyers who were paying it through financing it plus interest. I'm pissed that things went how they went, but I can't control that.
Well, and all the news articles are saying it's gonna bring prices of housing down, and I'm like.
Not at all.
Idiot.
What appraisers don't dig in that deep to start like adjusting stuff down, you know, the seller's gonna want the market value of the house, so.
Yeah.
To me, if they get the market value, they're gonna put some extra money in their pocket unless you're, you know, going back for your commission.
So when I'm sitting across from a buyer, first of all, I have gone through the buyer presentation as you guys are trained. So the vast majority of the beginning of it is you asking questions and digging deeper and finding out what their motivation is and understanding what their concerns are, what the hurdles might be, et cetera. You spend more time asking questions than anything else, because what selling is not.
Selling.
Thank you. I'm gonna make sure I get this shut and rained. And something that I haven't gone over before I do this is I was reminded, I haven't said this in a long time. This matters, and it now matters more than ever. Because if they call and they don't get us on the phone, they will call and get the next person. I lost us a referral in the last week because I wasn't in the effing mood to answer the phone. And I said, is there any chance I could call you back tomorrow morning? By then, they'd already found another freaking realtor. I knew better.
Hey, y'all, Brittany fucks up too. FYI, in case y'all wondered.
I knew better. Speed to lead. It's why you guys are, once you're on leads, that you're on round robin, it's whoever picks up the damn phone fast enough, because speed to lead matters. Just matters. Getting in touch with people quickly. I mean, if you can't answer the phone, texting them back, finding a way to. I was at a cheer competition. I could have easily stepped out, but I was exhausted and I didn't want to.
You're still pissed at yourself about it.
Oh, yeah. Cause I know better. I know better. So. In between all of this, you do a great buyer consult. You either know your stats or you know the team stats. If you don't know the team stats, ask. We'll pull them up. We'll pull up the most recent ones. Even if we have to like look at the last 10, because those were the best ones, and then we can do like, our stats over the last 10 transactions were amazing. Don't count the one that was the 11th, right? Statistics are what you make them. Ask the news. They made it whatever the hell they wanted to make it. So there's a couple options, full representation, my fee is blank. Here's what I offer, and here's some options for how I get paid. So instead of saying it's always free and it's always advertised, we're gonna have to delete that from our vocabulary. We're gonna say, here's some options for how it gets paid. Some sellers automatically pay my commission for you with a great offer. That's my job to go figure out what that is, and I'll communicate with you. You're not gonna just wake up one day and I'm gonna hand you an invoice. Like, we're gonna have discussions about this the whole time, okay? Option number 2 for how I get paid, some sellers offer 0 in compensation. Cool thing is, there might be less buyers looking at it, so that might be an advantage to you as a buyer, but not 0. This would mean my commission would potentially be paid out of pocket at closing with your down payment and closing costs. However, I'm a really good negotiator, and sometimes even when they're advertising 0, it can still be negotiated back in. So I'm gonna go to bat for you, and I'm gonna try to get it paid. Okay? And another alternative is we can increase the offer price to finance in that commission and that fees and some of your closing costs and things like that. The only catch is if you're getting financing, we need to make sure that that final sales price that it would appraise for that. That's something we need to be aware of. Another option is you go unrepresented. That means you only see homes listed for sale once they hit the market. No agent has the legal ability to bring you off market opportunities or to go hunting for them for you. You will see the home with the listing agent. All of your communication will be with them. Listing agent will likely increase their commission to the seller or to you. Either way, the commission's gonna get paid, but you're not gonna be represented. All we can do is fill in blanks for you. And they are not legally allowed to recommend you vendors, and if they do, proceed with caution. You'll want to pick and vet all of your vendors to make sure they're looking out for your best interests and not the sellers. And you insert any horror story about any one of these pieces. So with all of this presented, you've given a buyer consult, you've walked them through everything. They know you have a bucket of lenders and vendors and property inspectors and et cetera, et cetera. And they're, even if you go under a representative, you may still be charged for it later. Or if the listing agent charges the seller for it, then it could have been paid all along. We just had to ask. How do you want to proceed? And all of you are you're gonna have to be willing to let somebody walk out the door unrepresented. If that's their choice. That's the difference between great salespeople and mediocre. Is at the threat of somebody walking out the door, a great salesperson knows their value enough to say, maybe that means we're just not a fit. What I offer isn't a match for you. And I completely understand. So you mean you're not gonna show me that house today? No. You just told me you wanna go unrepresented. Okay, then what's the listing agent's number? I'm gonna give it to you, but his name is EJ. He's gonna charge you 2. Just FYI, like nothing changes. I don't know what he'll charge you. But he's also representing the seller, so.
And if you don't like that house.
Kind of seem like I'm reading like in depth about it, like they're not changing that. You know, you offer anything to buyer agents, it's just that that's not getting advertised, right? Like you still.
And that still is up for grabs. Like I read the information sheets from NAR. Somebody went and grabbed them for me because I couldn't find my login. And I was like, could you just screenshot them and upload them? And that, like, apparently part of their plan is still to remove that from the final agreements. Like it's not, even though they proposed a settlement, it's still not.
I mean,
They can
there's already
take place
talked
there.
about there not being a standard commission, you could get in trouble for saying there's, they're trying to
They've
say
said that since
6%.
I got a
Anyway.
license.
Guess I'm trying to figure out what actually, is gonna be changed, like, cause, still a lot of unknowns that we don't know, like.
I think mostly what's gonna change is the people that aren't willing to educate themselves are gonna give up their licenses. And that just means you guys have more opportunity
Yeah,
if you educate yourselves.
and that's okay, guys. Real estate world goes through ebbs and flows. It really does. People
Remember
come
the
in,
beginning of
people
last
leave.
year?
People during COVID were like, oh my God, the sky's falling. COVID year,
Had a
we
great
had our
year.
best year yet.
I can't even remember what it was last year.
That year.
Yeah, bad year to be a travel agent, but I can't even remember what it was at the beginning of last year. I can't remember what it was, but something was going on in real estate. And they're like, cut your costs, like you guys start going through your profit and loss.
We had our next best year ever.
See, I see this as an opportunity for us to grab even more of the market share, because there's so many agents out there that don't have access to this information and the training that we have.
You know why? Because their person doesn't have 18 years of experience in overcoming every objection on the whole planet. And then stay up till midnight on Friday night typing the shit up and
I
reviewing it
don't
with
see any of
leaders.
this as a negative thing. I see this as a positive for us, because we have the ability to just go above and beyond and take it.
I see it that way if everyone listening actually chooses to change their scripts and what they do and how they do it and practice. Like we did a question exercise, I think it was in January or February, and I found out later that about half of our team didn't participate. I'm worried for those folks. I'm worried for the people who say they're gonna do something and don't do it. That's what I'm worried for. But the people who do what they say they're gonna do and they embrace the suck and they embrace the challenge and they go, man, now that real estate's gotten so much harder, I don't wanna do this anymore. This is not fun. That means you're really in real estate now. Congratulations. Good job. Welcome. It's not always fun. It's only fun literally when you're depositing the check and when somebody signs an agreement or you get the words clear to close. Nothing else really is fun. I'm sorry, guys. It's a hard career. We just get to choose the suck, right? Do we want to choose this one where we can create unlimited opportunities? Or do we want to go work at Walmart? And I have had days where I thought about it. Not gonna lie.
Realistically, it sounds like you need to talk about the, just be more upfront, I guess, or more out in the open about certain things, talk about the fee. Hit on what we do to earn the fee, and then in reality, until July, it sounds like the MLS is still, you're still gonna know what you walk into and you show them each property, and it sounds like even after that, it's gonna be a phone call with a listing agent to see what co-op commission are you offering, because it didn't say that's going away.
Nope.
It just said it's not gonna be marketed, so
Exactly.
when we sign the agreement, they're not really a ton different, other than, hey, here's a scenario, if you show me a house, you say, hey, this is your dream house.
I'm gonna
I
go
call
back.
that agent, and they say they're not offering anything. You need to understand that that would mean you bringing that to the table, or when we write an offer, I'm gonna go to bat for you to get my commission included in the offer. And like, just make sure people understand, like, realistically how it could play out. You wouldn't want to get surprised if they find that house and they're in love with it, and then, cause that happens sometimes, like for sell by owners, I've had somebody fell in love with something, I'm like, oh man, I gotta get it for him, but how do I get paid in this scenario? It's just work and it's strategy,
And
If you get to
that
that
also comes from you take action quickly sometimes, which is wonderful, but before you show an unlisted property, you are supposed to ask. So we're now just having the
Right.
conversation, same conversation we should have been having with for sale by owners or off market property is at that price, what commission are you offering?
Yeah.
For me bringing you the buyer? Typically, I would
And
see
not a
between
will
blank
you,
and
what
blank.
are you? Yeah.
And they go, well, nothing. I go, okay, so that was the net that you wanted. Let's be clear, what's the sales price that you want that does include it? You gotta slow your roll, guys. Slow it down.
Sounds like it's almost like commercial leasing is.
Yeah, commercial's a lot like that, because there's no MLS for commercial, so I have to always include my commission, and I always have to get the commission from the agent before I show it, because that's a thing in commercial, if you've never done it, is there's no MLS that advertises that. You really gotta get it in writing, and so most agents put that in their offer, and then they get the agent to email them or text them that commission rate in writing before they show it. So yeah, it's not a ton different.
So, well, nothing has changed, everything has changed. And it's gonna be slight changes in your mindset, your language, and how you show up. If real estate has not sucked for you in the past 2 weeks, then you're not doing it right. Okay? Yes, yeah, he did.
It's like, great, I'm moving on.
I'm so glad. I can't remember if it was one of my calls or Chris's call on Friday. Where they talked about, the worst thing that could ever happen to you in real estate. That was Chris, right? Chris Friday. If you haven't listened to that call, go back and listen to it. It was like the biggest reassurance for me and the biggest moment of education for me that I've had in a long time. Because he said, the worst thing that could happen to you when you launch your real estate career, or that when things change, et cetera, is that it comes easily and naturally to you. And the reason that that's the worst thing that could happen is because I'm telling you, I've seen it, I've watched it happen with people. You come in, you come straight out of the gates and you win on your charm and your personality. And then when shit gets hard, you think something's wrong with you. Like to your core, your self-worth disappears. When really this industry is not about how much charm and personality you have, it's about the systems and models that we teach you. Are you saying the right things? Are you saying it to enough people? Are you saying it enough times, right? That was our first conversation, is like, I called them once. And then what? What's next? I don't know. Okay,
Call them 9 more times.
call them 9 more times, and then let's come up with what you're gonna say in those 9 more times, and when you're gonna do it, and what you're gonna add, because it's systems and models and activities that make this career happen. The reason it's hard to get on my schedule when you're not already on it is because I operate from a priority, and it took me years to build it this way.
And it was fun the whole time.
Totally fun. No tears, no blood, no sweat.
No doing things that you don't want to.
I'm still doing things that I don't want to do. At the gym this morning, I was responding to leads. I mean, I am still doing things that I don't want to do. I was plugging shit into a spreadsheet for the past 3 weeks, and you know how much I love that.
Not because I didn't do it.
No, different business. Wasn't
That checked out yet.
wanted to be clear. Now that doesn't mean that we just live our whole life doing things that we don't want to do. I do want to balance it with things that I do want to do. But in order to grow your business, you have to get used to these systems, the models, the scripts, the repertoire. Like, how do I say it? When do I say it? How often do I say it? Etc. I mean, a couple of you have really resisted when leads come in. You are to call them 3 times in a row and not leave a voicemail on the first 2. Only on the 3rd, as part of our new lead standards that I haven't 100% enforced all the time yet. It's coming though.
You keep making me think about David Goggins in that video.
This is
that
my
you
6-pack,
shared.
isn't it?
That video, if you didn't watch it, it was all about growing your willpower, and the way that you make you strong-willed individual is by doing shit you don't wanna do.
Yeah.
Been there.
Mhm.
I don't wanna do it.
I didn't want to
So-
for a long time.
Yeah, there is plenty of days where I don't want to do it. Plenty of days where I'm like, you freaking kidding me? NAR, you put this out on a Friday so nobody can freaking talk over the weekend to the brokers and nothing. Of course they did it on a Friday, so that we all would have our emotional freakouts over the weekend, and then they'd come into their flood of emails and hate messages and everything on Monday, so. Takeaways, and let's get to work. Can I get maybe 5 takeaways from today? So we got plenty of people online too.
I think, just like I said, maybe discussing I don't know, just showing what value you bring to the table is really what I get out of it. And, you know, some people might have seen the news and some people might not have, but I think our job still to show what value we provide. I do think, put myself in a buyer's shoes, I would, you know, like we were talking about in the meeting this morning, you know, attorneys, people go hire attorneys every day and they pay, you know, crazy amounts per hour for attorneys because they know that what that attorney's doing is something they're not specialized on and they don't understand. And so, you know, if we act like our job's just opening doors, yeah, they can do that themselves. We have to make them understand that the hard work is going to bat against multiple offers to win you that house, or, you know, the listing agent's not gonna help you get repairs done or get money off. They're hired by the seller, you know, and so it's like really pushing that and talking about what we do and talking about the value we bring and making it a no-brainer that even at whatever it costs them, they still need it and it's money well spent.
Mhm.
Mine is a takeaway that we've gone over 1,000 times. Hold your fucking BBA appointments, like, stop.
Now it's about to be illegal not to, so I tried,
I'd say
y'all.
that's the one from today that we say is legal in here, in this office from today, is hold a BBA appointment and get your BBAs, like.
And if you're not confident with it, then it's time to get back and role play. I have not worked with a buyer since 2012, when I took the course Creating Buyer Urgency. I have not worked with a single buyer that since then, that I didn't hold a buyer brokerage appointment and get a buyer brokerage signed before I went out and worked with them. Why y'all think you're different than me? I have no freaking clue.
It's like you think you guys are wasting your time doing other things that are not wasteful, you just may not be seeing results right away. But you won't do the one thing that fucking.
If you're so scared of asking them for the business, why are you risking your time and your dollars on them? You're afraid they're gonna say no, right? That's what you guys are afraid. It has to be. You're afraid they're going to not sign the buyer brokers. That's the only thing that I can reason that would keep you guys from doing a buyer consult. But you're afraid to hear no in a 1 hour session, but you're willing to waste weekend after weekend after weekend and fuel tank after fuel tank after fuel tank. And not spend that time with your family or another client because you're afraid of hearing no? Perplexing to me.
My takeaway is knowing that even after telling them your worth, showing them, what you're bringing to the table, and it's okay that if they walk away.
Sometimes
And sometimes they're gonna come right back, because they're gonna go to the first door, they're not gonna get the answer they want, and they're gonna be like, you know what, maybe it is worth it.
Maybe Catherine was right, I should
Yeah.
call her back.
Yeah, but it's not about you, right? It's the same as like when we talk about like core tendencies, like if they leave, it's not about you. You show them everything that you're worth. If they leave.
Yeah.
Right?
My biggest takeaway is validation. I felt when all this started to happen on Friday, I was like, "Psst, this shit don't matter to me. I already know what I'm saying to my people. I'm covered on this, and having this meeting today just validates that the scripts and the knowledge that our team has, we're gonna be fine.
if you do what Brittany says. Be successful. I mean, and I can speak, that's just me being personal, I mean. Look where I came from.
What's up, rookie of the year?
No, I mean, I came from a team that didn't teach that, and I wasn't that successful, but then I came here and.
She doesn't know yet. She'll build it. She will. I have faith that she will grow and she'll build it. But the difference is I had a head start.
Yeah.
That's it. By the way, being willing to let somebody walk away is how we should walk into every appointment. Every appointment. So I'm gonna read you guys something, and I'm gonna stop recording because it's pretty.